U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Israel. We just watched a live briefing alongside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu from Tel Aviv Live. This is part of a two-part mission for the Secretary of State: diplomacy to demonstrate Washington's support, but also to try to find a way to free the hostages Hamas is holding.
Let's see. Sorry, it's under these circumstances.
But thank you for your tremendous work.
No,
Very much.
we're here. We're not going anywhere.
We're here, we're not going anywhere. And he reiterated that during the joint news conference. The mission, complicated by what is happening on the ground, the intensifying airstrikes at Hamas, the tunnels and the leadership, and the growing potential for an Israeli ground offensive. There are new warnings to Hamas as well from Israeli leadership and threats from Hamas to kill hostages. So all of this, the underpinning to the U.S. Secretary of State. Chris Reyes is bringing us the American story today. And Chris was listening as we heard to that joint briefing from Blinken and Netanyahu. Chris, bring us a little bit in terms of what you thought were the key messages as the two leaders spoke.
Well, Heather, as you know, diplomacy is all about the careful choosing of words. And what we heard from Secretary of State Antony Blinken was support and condemnation in the strongest of terms. And I think there was very deliberate effort from both men to use unequivocal and clear language when it comes to describing the horror of Hamas's attacks, as well as the nature of that group. And Blinken called on other nations to be just as clear and unmistakable about their language, and also to make sure, and you alluded to this already, not to in any way associate Hamas with the aspirations of the Palestinian people. Have a listen to what he said.
Anyone who wants peace and justice must condemn Hamas's reign of terror. We know Hamas doesn't represent the Palestinian people or their legitimate aspirations to live with equal measures of security, freedom, justice, opportunity, and dignity.
And Heather, also on Blinken's agenda, obviously talks and discussions about releasing the unknown number of hostages being held. He said that the number of Americans dead in these attacks now up to 25, and to expect that number to continue to rise. He talked about providing Israel with more military supply. Blinken said that he knows that Israel has a very strong military, but as long as America exists, they will fight side by side with Israel. There's already been a replenishment of supplies for the Iron Dome. We know that the USS Ford carrier strike group is in the Eastern Mediterranean. That is the world's largest warship. And then Blinken also issued another warning to any actor or nations who might choose to capitalize on this conflict. He said that he is in the region particularly for that reason, to make sure that this conflict does not spread to other parts of the world.
Chris, it wasn't just Antony Blinken, it was Benjamin Netanyahu who also spoke, and we heard that in live coverage. A very impassioned speech equating Hamas with ISIS. Tell us some more in detail about what the Prime Minister said as well.
Yep. Prime Minister Netanyahu being very descriptive when it comes to describing not just Saturday's attacks, Heather, but also the nature of Hamas in this moment in history. So let me just give you some points of what he said. He called Hamas an enemy of civilization. He called Saturday's attacks an act of sheer evil. And then he went on to list what happened in those attacks: beheadings, burning people alive, killing children in front of their parents, parents in front of their children. And then he said that Hamas must be spit out of the community of nations, and that no country should meet with them. If they do, they should be sanctioned. Have a listen to what more he said.
Tony, my friend, I say to you, I say to all of us, there will be many difficult days ahead. But I have no doubt that the forces of civilization will win. And the reason that's true is because we understand what is the first prerequisite of victory. It's what you just said in our meeting: moral clarity.
And Heather, what was very obvious about this news conference is the friendship between the two countries. Blinken will not only meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu, but also President Isaac Herzog. He'll also meet with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, as well as the King of Jordan during this visit.